Day 314, and the calling of Ezekiel to be a prophet among God's people who have rejected him continues. Here he is, shaving off his hair of his head, his beard, and God then commands him to use that hair as an example of the wrath of God and the winds that scatter the people in captivity. God reminds us through these verses how serious sin is, how deadly rebellion can be, and the fact that God sometimes, often, loves us enough to allow us to get what it is that our sin would bring about in our lives. That is really a rejection of God that leads us to our own devices and suffering and pain. God's willing at times to allow us to experience that, and there's a reason for that, to lead us to repent. There's even this verse that says it in chapter 6 when he says, "But I will spare some, for some of you will escape the sword when you're scattered among the nations. And then in the nations where they have been carried captive, those who escape will remember me." God's calling and hope and desire, even in the face of kind of the wrath that's being poured out among his people, it's so that they would know that he is who he says he is. He's a God who loves them, a God who has redeemed them, a God who has rescued them. They've rejected that, though. But yet the prophet Ezekiel continues to proclaim God's faithfulness in the midst of it. May we be reminded, and may we hear that voice, especially where we've been rebellious and where we need to hear God is calling us back. May he lead you there today through his word.